This kid had a rifle with a scope. Holy shit. He said what?
Under that fundamental moral principle, then, can you acknowledge, though, that President Trump is getting more done in a less period of time?
In the last 2 decades, America's media landscape has undergone a radical transformation. Traditional television networks and newspapers no longer dominate the cultural conversation. Instead, a new wave of voices, uncensored, direct, and deeply influential, have emerged from the digital world. Among them, 2 figures stand out for their profound, though very different, impacts. Joe Rogan, the comedian-turned-podcasting giant, and Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist who became a political force before the age of 30. One built a platform rooted in curiosity, conversation, and counterculture. The other, a political movement aimed at reshaping American conservatism for a younger generation. Together, their stories reveal how influence is forged in the 21st century.
This one with Charlie Kirk, it doesn't seem real.
No.
It seems very surreal.
It does.
It seems like...
Outside of legacy institutions, beyond the reach of gatekeepers, and directly in the ears and feeds of millions. Joe Rogan's rise. To understand Joe Rogan's impact, we have to go back to the 1990s. Long before his podcast became a cultural juggernaut, Rogan was hustling his way through comedy clubs in Boston and New York. His sharp humor, martial arts background, and charismatic stage presence eventually led him to television.
Know most basic shit in terms of positions and when things are dangerous. But when stuff gets exotic.
In 2001, Rogan became a household name as the host of Fear Factor, a reality show that pushed contestants into outrageous stunts and bizarre challenges. The show was a hit, and Rogan became a recognizable face across America.
And they willingly did it, and if they didn't want to do any of the stunts, they could have backed out at any time. It's on their own personal choice.
But for Rogan, it was just one chapter in a career that was never confined to a single lane. Around the same time, Rogan's passion for martial arts and combat sports opened the door to another career path: UFC commentary. His deep knowledge and enthusiastic style helped bring mixed martial arts into the mainstream. Yet Rogan was still searching for something more, a platform that reflected his curiosity about the world, free from television scripts or corporate oversight. On Christmas Eve 2009, Rogan launched the very first episode of The Joe Rogan Experience alongside his friend Brian Redban. It was raw, unfiltered, and completely unlike the polished talk shows on TV. What started as 2 guys talking into a webcam would eventually become one of the most influential media platforms in the world. Over the years, Rogan's guest list expanded, from comedians and scientists to politicians, authors, and cultural lightning rods.
We're the last generation that gets to be actual regular normal kids without being connected to the hive.
Elon Musk, Bernie Sanders, Jordan Peterson, Neil deGrasse Tyson. The roster read like a cross-section of America's most intriguing and controversial figures. What set Rogan apart was not just who he invited, but how he listened. Conversations could last 3 hours or more, creating a space for nuance and exploration rarely seen in mainstream news.
To our neighborhoods. We're connected to our friend group. We're connected to whatever activities that we like to do with other people. That's what we're connected to.
In 2020, Spotify struck a $100 million exclusive licensing deal with Rogan, cementing his status as the undisputed king of podcasting. By this point, his audience dwarfed that of cable news anchors. Millions tuned in not just for entertainment, but to hear perspectives they couldn't find anywhere else. Rogan had become a symbol of a new kind of media, one built on independence, free expression, and the raw power of digital plat. Charlie Kirk's emergence. On the surface, Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk could not be more different. Rogan, a comedian with a love for psychedelics and open-ended conversations. Kirk, a polished conservative activist with a clear political mission. Yet in America's fractured media environment, their worlds occasionally intersect.
We're getting scary close to people justifying totalitarian measures.
I think we need to push back on this.
Tim Walz in the campaign trail was literally saying free speech doesn't include hate speech and misinformation.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hey man.
Rogan has hosted guests aligned with Kirk's ideological camp. Figures like Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, and Jordan Peterson. These conversations often touched on themes central to Kirk's activism: free speech, government overreach, cultural debates.
Saw that JD Vance was weird.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
And then there's weirds everywhere.
Weird. Oh, you don't want a weird guy. Meanwhile, you have...
While Rogan has never claimed allegiance to a specific political party, his skepticism of institutions, from government agencies to mainstream media, resonates strongly with audiences that also fuel Kirk's movement. For Kirk, Rogan's influence has been undeniable. Few platforms rival the reach of the Joe Rogan Experience, and within conservative circles, there is recognition that Rogan's audience represents a vital cross-section of young, politically curious Americans. Criticism and controversies. But influence rarely comes without controversy. And for both Rogan and Kirk, criticism has been a constant companion. For Joe Rogan, the most high-profile controversies came during the COVID-19 pandemic. Critics accused him of spreading misinformation by giving airtime to guests who challenged mainstream medical guidance. The backlash grew so intense that musicians like Neil Young demanded their music be removed from Spotify in protest of Rogan's presence. Rogan defended his podcast as a space for open conversation, not propaganda, but the episode revealed the deep cultural divide over free speech, censorship, and the role of platforms in moderating content.
Something that happened.
Is he a friend?
No, I met him once.
Okay.
I met him once at a gun range, of all places.
Wow.
He was a nice guy.
Charlie Kirk, meanwhile, has faced backlash for his outspoken political positions. Critics accuse him of spreading conspiracy theories, oversimplifying complex issues, and using provocative rhetoric to galvanize his base. His organization, Turning Point USA, has been the subject of both praise and scrutiny for its aggressive campus campaigns. To supporters, both Rogan and Kirk are victims of a biased establishment trying to silence dissenting voices. To opponents, they are examples of how misinformation and polarizing rhetoric can spread unchecked in the digital age. Legacy and future relevance. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk stand as two of the most influential voices in America today. They represent different worlds, one rooted in free-form conversation, the other in political activism. But together they illustrate how influence is built in the 21st century. Their legacies are still being written. Rogan continues to dominate the podcasting world, interviewing a dizzying array of guests and shaping conversations that ripple across society. Kirk continues to mobilize young conservatives, fueling debates that will shape American politics for decades to come. Love them or loathe them, one thing is undeniable. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk have changed the way America talks, listens, and engages with ideas.